Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back with another video. Hope for any people that have seen a few of my videos and haven't got bored of me, but anyway, I know recently I did a few videos about South Africa, so to be honest, these videos about Central Africa are going to be quite similar, but I'm going to try and have a little spin on it and change one or two things at least, and try to make it as entertaining as possible. I hope people, as many people as possible, watch these videos because it'll make me feel a lot better, make me feel good, but also obviously for my own ego, but also because I'll be able to help people in this case in Central Africa, especially the country Central Africa itself, Central African Republic, C.A.R, if you like, or whatever you want to call it, and Central Africa as a region, and Africa generally. Anyway, here goes. I'm going to go with the list, and hopefully people enjoy it. I hope I get some likes, especially from people who support Africa, or anyone who supports Africa. Okay, so number one, I know I talked about how South Africa, I want it to be like a hub for the rest of Southern Africa. So people from neighbouring countries in Southern Africa go to South Africa for events and discuss things. But in this case, I want it to be for the whole of Africa. So to promote Pan-Africanism, and Asia can have its own version. I won't do it. I don't think I'll do the video. I might do it in the future, you never know. But I think if I do, it'll probably be a long time in the future, maybe next year or something. I don't know. But because I suppose I'd only be repeating a lot of these things for Central Asia, but Central Asia could have different countries hosting events. But in this case, with Central Africa being named Central Africa, it could host most of these events, and then maybe annually different countries could host it, or maybe Central Africa could just host the majority of them. But Pan-Africanism, and also people from the diaspora, like black people around the world, to go to, as well as in Africa, also all around the world to go to Central Africa, and Friends of Africa and things like that to go to Central Africa. But whereas South Africa was more about POC generally, people of colour, and Southern Africa, this would be more because it's central, it's strategically located in such a way that symbolically it could be a great symbol for Pan-Africanism, especially with the problems it had with civil wars, which I hope to come to. Anyway, secondly, I hope just like with the South Africa thing and other projects, it would support tourism for the whole of, in this case, for the whole of the African continent, though again, not just one particular region, but the whole continent come together, talk about how they can work together and share ideas about how they can promote tourism and subscribe to each other's YouTubers and support each other's channels, and generally support channels that support Africa, and also bring in tech companies to come and teach about technology and STEM for Africa as well, teaching children about STEM and tackling poverty, which again I hope to come to. Number three, again, the whole of Africa, talk about what freedom means, as much of Africa as possible, talk about what freedom means to them and how to have a leadership that works for the people, so that it helps some of the poorest people, not that it just gives them things for free as such as they don't have to work for it, but gives them opportunities to work and to do their best through business, politics, or other such ways where the leaders don't just sell out their people, which they're often accused of doing. But again, I'd love to have street interviews, like people from Africa street interview. I'd love to share that idea or recommend that idea with them to talk about, ask the question like, what does freedom mean to you? And again, like to record it on YouTube, and people, the black diaspora around the world supporting their YouTube channels so that they can hopefully monetize them and fundraise for their local areas as well. And again, people from Africa talk about what freedom means to them and share that idea and express it through art, writing, and YouTube and whatever other mediums they can. Number four, I hope to talk about. I hope they will. I suppose all these are like my suggestions about what they could host, or what they could talk about, or again, all the possible African leaders and possibly many people from Africa going to Central Africa itself, the country, as many as they can host, and trying to talk about how peace can lead to prosperity, which can lead because of more increased tourism, and how they can share ideas which they might not have thought about, and how it can lead to a better quality of life, more human rights, less not having to rebuild your house or having your businesses damaged, and all sorts of horrible things like that. It can mean you can build businesses and grow things. Again, have things like war trade and feed each other, and that'll tackle poverty as well and help everyone to have a better quality of life. You won't have to look around to see if your neighbour is going to attack you, because you'll be more united and support what's best for the country. Just like, Rwanda is a really good role model, I suppose, for Africa, generally speaking, although I'm sure it's not perfect by any means, but it does have some great things, and maybe even I don't know if Rwanda comes under Central Africa or Eastern Africa or both, like Central East. But that's a great role model as well. Maybe Paul Kagame and other leaders from, or other people from, politicians from Rwanda and places like that could talk about how peace has benefited them and how the rest of Africa can learn from that. Again, how peace can lead to tourism, prosperity, building things together, growing things together rather than destroying things. Number 5, I hope they'll share aspirations, like people from Africa, different African nations, talk about how they can help each other's economies to grow. If there's more peace, how they'll help each other to grow and help them to reach their aspirations, and like children to be encouraged to pursue their goals, like becoming doctors or politicians or business people or sports stars or whatever else, and encouraged to look into how they can do that, and funding those sorts of aspirations for the future, and like having 5 or 10 year plans, and charities and NGOs also helping them. Number 6, again, hope to encourage people across Africa to support Pan-Africanism in this case, and how they can learn from each other and reach their full potential and work together. And instead of having the tribal system, like have black people united with Africans or things like that, and Africans to be as united as possible, in spite of not having those tribal divisions as much as possible, and those tribal divisions to be discouraged, just like Rwanda has done, so they can work together instead. Number 7, hope for Africans, talking about spirituality and religion and the evidence for each for religion, discussing the pros and cons of spirituality or religion, or what evidence there is, or evidences there are, and hope God will bless Africa. I suppose I myself am a moderate Christian, but I hope they'll come together in spite of religious differences somehow, and again, not have the tribal or religious differences, but like talk about how they can come together and work together, and how religion talks generally, as far as I'm aware, especially Christianity and Islam, about tackling poverty and things like that. Even though the religions are different, they still have a lot in common. 8, I hope for people from Africa to talk about how they can work together in love rather than hate, and I know it's a bit corny, but have love, not hate, and work together, support each other, again, support each other's projects, and be proud to be African, and encourage each other to be motivated and to be active in helping each other and the community, and tackling poverty and helping the economy of each individual country in Africa, as well as the whole continent on the whole, to grow, and banks to invest in businesses, and like sharing videos like 8 to be great, and how that can help people to develop their passion and work towards a goal together. And things like working like One Africa to work together, especially in things like increasing their tourism industry, the YouTubers, and also technology would be a big one. Like all possible Africans to be united through technology and that sort of thing. And mentors, especially black people who have done well around the world, like in African Americans or Black British people, or people from Europe, to go to parts of Africa and teach for Africa, and mentor, and also like look at how we can invest our taxes in Africa, and like call for our tax money, or black people can sort of call for their tax money to go to parts of Africa, and people who are part black as well. And 9, I also dream of support Pan-African publishers and all sorts of projects, publishers, writers, artists, and every possible project to empower Africa as much as possible. Again, Central Africa to be strategically located, so it's symbolically the centre, to promote Pan-Africanism. And number 10, especially to support the youth, discourage violence, talk about encouraging and loving and nurturing each other. I talked about being some moderate Christian, if there is such a thing. I know some people might say you're either Christian or you're not, but anyway, I know the Bible says spare the rod and spoil the child, but I know I've talked before about how I sort of believe in like encouraging people, and so I might kind of slightly disagree with that, but I do hope to end some of the violence that apparently happens in some African schools, so with teachers and like end caning and things like that, and also for people to learn about dyslexia. and how to bring the best out of people. And they might struggle academically, but could be good in other areas. Anywho, hope you like this one. Please let me know what you think as ever. I'm out. Peace and love.